Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about a trick I'm already using that will not only help you to study more effectively for university, but will also help you in your life overall. So, what is this little trick that I think will be so helpful to not only university students, because I'm going back to school, but anyone in general? The technique is called dopamine loading. And dopamine loading, I'll just read it to you, is a technique that involves intentionally restricting high dopamine activities during the day to enhance the perceived reward of tasks like work or exercise later on. What you're essentially trying to do is you're trying to train your brain to be okay with doing hard tasks and receiving rewards for doing those hard tasks later on in the form of like just the fact that you completed it, or by doing something also beneficial to you but not necessarily easy, like working out. For me, one way that I've actually been implementing this technique into my life is through my studies of Mandarin Chinese. I started a while ago, but I fell off and I'm back at it now. And what I do to use this dopamine loading technique is as soon as I wake up, I wash up and I sit at my desk and I start studying Chinese. Although I enjoy studying Chinese, it is not easy. It is pretty difficult. And so for me, I know if I get that task done, if I spend my hour or two studying Chinese first thing in the day, nothing's gonna come between me and getting it done in the rest of the day because I'll have completed, it'll have already been done. And trust me, I've tried the opposite first. I've tried doing everything else in my day and then studying Chinese for the evening, and I always find an excuse to not study it. So I've tested saving the hard task for later, and for me with Chinese it doesn't work, and I don't want to bring those habits into university where I say, oh, I'll start studying at 7 and then I know it's going to end up being 8, 9, and then I'm pulling all-nighters, or I just don't study at all. So how will this help with the rest of your life? By starting with the hard tasks, if you train your brain to be in this state where you're always looking for the first thing that you know is going to be the most challenging of the day, but you know you need to do it, by always looking for that thing to do at the start of your day, you are being essentially more proactive with your life. And I think that's a good habit or a good skill to develop, like proactiveness. Because by starting your day with a hard task, those hard tasks are probably some of the most important ones. And by starting with them, you're setting the rest of your day up for success. So finally, I want to leave you guys with an example of what a day using this dopamine loading technique might look like for you. For me, this is similar to how I'm going to organize my day. This example is essentially a dopamine optimizing schedule. So first thing I would suggest is try and schedule your classes for the evening time. Now, afternoon to evening time. The reason for this is so that you can start your day with the hardest task. And I don't think going to class, sitting there and just listening to your professor is necessarily the hardest thing. So start your morning with your wake up routine, but don't spend too long on this, maybe half an hour at the most. That I think is even being generous. And then sit down at your desk and start going over your notes. Use the Pomodoro technique. Use whatever technique you want in your study session. But a solid 3 hours I would suggest, and then go into the next activity, whether that be your classes, or then instead of classes, lunch, or working out, having a low carb meal. And then I would suggest working for another block. So you've gone to classes, you've had your meal, and then I would suggest going back to studies. If this schedule will be perfect for exam season. And early in the semester, you may not need to be putting in a second block of studies at the beginning, but this is a good area to put that block where you study for another 3, 4, 5 hours. And then after all that's done and you have your meal with whatever you want, you high carb, low carb, whatever, then that's the time when you can engage in all the dopamine intense, high spiking activities that you want, like doom scrolling on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, or eating snacks, chips, candy, or just watching an anime or some, freeing. Yeah, waiting for season 2. I don't know when it's gonna come out, but once it comes out, I'm telling you, this period of this whole schedule is that's what I'm gonna be doing with my time. Essentially, throughout this routine, you're trying to get your dopamine at the beginning to close to the middle end of the day through natural sources. So I didn't mention it, but at the beginning of your schedule, you also wanna not only wash up and get straight to work, which is a natural form of dopamine if you're working on something meaningful, but before even starting that routine, getting outside to get some sunlight or doing a very short exercise, like stretching, morning stretch routine of some kind, that I think is also a good idea. You wanna find natural sources of dopamine that aren't just stimulants from social media. Those, I think, are a better way to start your day and work throughout your day than to start your day with something stimulating and then have to go to something not so stimulating, like opening up a thermodynamics textbook and having to just sit there and read it. So that's a little bit on dopamine loading. And if you want to see more of what I'm doing with my free time, since school hasn't started officially, there's a video on how I ruptured my Achilles tendon and another video on me learning tutting for the first time. Stay tuned for more stuff.